I'm going to call the Finance Committee meeting together at September 1st at 7:19. I apologize for the delay, and I want to thank President Wilshire for stepping in at the last minute. A meeting of the Finance Committee is being held both in the Aldermanic Chamber and via Zoom. And please bear with me. Okay, I have it. I do not have the normal script, so I am going to wing this. For those who want to join the meeting, it is on the agenda. The meeting ID is 879-1319-3386. The passcode is 334547. To join by phone, it's 929-205-6099. If there are any problems with the audio, please dial 603-589-3329 to advise, and someone there should be able to help you. Excuse me. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches is absent. Alderman Patricia Clee.
I am here and I am in the chamber.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien.
Present.
Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
It's okay. No.
Alderman at Large Brandon Michael Laws is on leave. Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou.
Here. Present, I'm joining remotely because I am not, I'm out of town. And I'm with my family. Can you hear me?
The
Yes, we can.
clerk
you.
is present. So we have a quorum of 4.
Thank you so much. So that is 5 in attendance and 4 in the chamber. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here for public comment? I see no one in the audience, and I don't see anybody online for public comment. Communications?
Communications from Kelly Parkinson, Perkinsey Manager. I motion to accept, placed on file, and approve the annual software maintenance for Munis from Tyler Technologies, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $88,340.63. Funding will be through Department 122, Information Technology, Fund 54407, Software Maintenance.
Ms. Kleiner, are you here to speak to this?
Good evening. I would ask that this item and the following item, Clear Sky, be addressed by our Deputy Director, Nick Mizovich.
Okay, I did see that Nick was online. Mr. Mizovich, would you like to speak to this, please? Thank you, Director Kleiner.
Absolutely, Madam Chairman. This is the annual software maintenance and licensing for our financials software that the tax department uses to to send out the tax notices. And it is approximately 5% increase from last year.
Thank you. Are there any questions among the members? Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you,
And then
Madam
Alderman
Chair.
Lou.
I just want to bring up a parliamentary inquiry. It seemed when the roll was taken, Alderman Wilshire's name wasn't called, and due to the rules of this chamber, when we do not have a quorum, an alderman at large is allowed to come in and to fill in that capacity. So if it's okay with permission of the chair, she is recognized by the clerk as a voting member of this body.
Yes,
Thank you,
and
Alderman.
I apologize.
And I completely missed it myself after thanking her for coming in and then ignoring her during roll call. Yes. Doing good today, aren't I? Thank you so much, Alderman O'Brien. Alderman Lou? Alderwoman
you.
Lou, I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Madam Chairman. Oh, you know, we didn't make it easy for you beginning the meeting, not showing up. So it's hard to get back on track after that. But a point of order, just for clarification, it sounds like Alderman O'Brien was citing a proposal that we voted down, I thought, where any alderman at large could sit in. I mean, it was my understanding that the president of the board can always sit in and vote. And I assume that's why Alderman Wiltshire is here, but am I mistaken that the vote to allow an at-large to vote at any meeting is currently in effect?
Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Lou, for your question, but I bring the proposal to parliamentary inquiry forward and in good faith. It is my interpretation, without the presence of legal counsel here, that it's been a long-standing tradition as being an alderman at large where that particular position is a city-wide election, that particular alderman at large can be asked in situations that were before us this evening where a quorum isn't present in the room, that alderman at large can come in and sit down and vote on the particular matter. It is my interpretation also as well. The reason that rule exists is because I'm sure, Alderman Lou, you agree, before us this evening are a lot of pressing materials that need to be addressed that really goes to the benefit of the citizens. And like everything else, people do get busy. I completely understand that. There may be a whole host of reasons why a particular alderman cannot make the meeting. So I'm glad we do have this rule where alderman at large can't come in and backfill in the emergency situation that presented us this evening to vote. And I hope that answers your question.
It absolutely, well, it answers the question whether I thought you were serious, in good faith, but I certainly did. I was just trying to understand a detail. So I'll just go on to, thank you for that clarification. I do understand that we have a lot of pressing business, so let's get to it. And my question for Mr. Misevich is just, would you help me out here? Did we just recently approve another Tyler Tech contract? I remember you said we'll be here, you'll see me next year because this is annual.
No, that was for Kronos.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm all set.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lou, and thank you, Mr. Misevich. Are there any other questions by the board members? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll? Yes, because we have one person not here. Yes.
Okay. Alderman Patricia Clay,
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth
Oh
Lou.
my, yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderman Lori Wilshire
Yes.
and Alderman at large Michael B. O'Brien.
Yes.
Did you call yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we have 5 yeas. I know it gets confusing when we're back and forth to this. Excuse me, Madam Clerk?
Communications from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, software hosting in the amount not to exceed $90,000 funded from accounts 54428 Technology Operations IT Department. So Madam Chair, motion to accept, place on file, and approve the continued remote application management support of info Lawson application from Clerkskis in an amount not to exceed $90,000. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology, Fund 54428, Technology Operations.
I'm sorry, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Meisovich, would you like to speak to this?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. This contract is to replace the previous 4-year contract that expired in June this year. And the major difference is this contract is now month to month, so we're not dealing with a term anymore. So we can continue this and cancel it any time with a 30-day written notice. And they have agreed to honor the price that we've been paying for the past 4 years of $7,500 a month.
Are there any questions? I do have one. So I do remember reading it. The month to month, are we still going to be guaranteed the same as if we had done it on an annual basis? Is the per month the same, or has it increased?
Yes, per month is the same.
Per month
The
is
month
the same.
cost has not changed.
Thank you very much. No other questions? Madam Clerk?
Alderman Patricia Clay.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Laurie Wilshire.
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou.
Yes,
And the clerk says yes. So the motion
And that-
carries.
Yeah, motion carries and 5 yeas. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, a motion to accept, place, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Just go back. Communications from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, security monitoring in the amount not to exceed $7,200, funded from account 55699, other contracted services, transportation. So I motion to accept, place on file, and award the contract for security monitoring for the Transit Center, Transit Administration, and Transit Garage from Johnson Control Security in amount not to exceed $7,200, $1,440 per year for a 5-year term. Funding will be through Department 186 Transportation, Fund 55699, other contracted services.
And I see that we have Director Marchant. Does this one belong to you?
Kind of. I will give a brief overview, but Nick is definitely the expert here on
Okay.
this one. This is an upgrade of a continuation of our contract for Tyler Technologies for our security monitoring at the 3 transportation properties. And we renewed the contract again at a same cost going forward. Nick, I'm sure you can shine some light on this one because he was going to speak to it tonight. I
Thank
just
you
happen
so
to be
much.
here.
Mr. Meisovich?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is, as Director Marchant stated, this is just a continuation of our monitoring for the 3 transit locations. And the vendor requested we get back under contract, and in doing so, provided us a discount to sign on to a 5-year term. So we are going to be saving a little over $1,000 over the next 5 years for this service. And there is no change in equipment or anything like that, so it's really all paperwork. No changes in equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Meisovich. And if I may, did I read correctly that this is mandated, federally mandated to have this type of security?
Yes, I believe Director Marchant can extend on that, but I believe it is a federal mandate that the transit locations be monitored for security.
Director Marchant?
Sure. The FTA funds the vast majority of all the capital equipment in these locations, and as part of their requirements, we are required to have security for all of their sites. It also protects our equipment, it protects our riders, and it protects our drivers and staff.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Alderman Patricia Clee,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Laurie Wilshire,
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou,
Yes.
and the clerk says yes.
And that motion carries with 5 yeas. Madam Clerk?
Okay. Communications from Kelly Parker, Purchasing Manager, Hydroelectric Consulting Contract Change Order in the amount not to exceed $32,260 funded from accounts Hydroelectric Bond Fund, Community Development. So, Madam Chair, I motion to accept, placed on file, and approve change order number 1 to extend the duration of the contract with Normandy Associates until the Mine Falls license is renewed. Add additional scope to include Jackson Mills license exemption amendment and increase the contract amount by $32,260 from the original contract amount of $361,230 to $393,490. Funding will be through Department 170 Hydroelectric Operations Fund Bond.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Director Marchant, this one I guess is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So the city has made tremendous progress, and under the Waterways Manager, Deb Chisholm, we have fully submitted the first step in the FERC application process for Mine Falls, of which Normando was a reliable and consistent and wonderful consultant for us. This is the first step of many, which you might recall from our bond discussion several years ago in this process. And the goal now is to extend the Normando contract. As part of that initial application, there are some continued monitoring we have to do until we get comments back, at which time we'll be coming back to you for additional next steps that we do anticipate as part of this process. And in addition, with the Jackson Falls turbine, we need to do some water quality monitoring. And Normando is the best consultant to do that. So we're looking to extend the scope just a little bit, an additional $6,800 for water quality monitoring at Jackson, and tie them both together. So that's what's before you.
Thank you, Director Marchant. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Alderman Patricia Clee,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Brian B. O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Laurie Wilshire,
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou,
Yes.
and clerk says yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion carried with 5 yeas. Madam Clerk?
Communications from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Jackson Mines Turbine Generator and Controls Replacement Change Order in the amount not to exceed $99,000, funded from account 81700, Infrastructure Improvements, Community Development. So, Madam Chair, I motion to accept and place on file and approve change order number 2 for and change order number 3 for the manufacture, transportation, and installation of the turbine generator and controls for the Jackson Mills hydroelectric project in an amount not to exceed $99,000. Funding will be through Department 170 Hydroelectric Operations, Fund 81700 Infrastructure Improvements.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Director Marchant again.
Thank you. This project is related to the turbine replacement at Jackson Mills Dam. We have had some delays in that project, and as such, we would like to extend the warranty where it is the most inexpensive to do so right now, to make sure that we have the same warranty that we initially signed on for, and to have to store some parts which are very large in size and so cost a substantial amount of money, and have to be stored in such a way that they maintain the warranty. And so that is what we're here before you to do. There's a very, very small window for implementation for this project, as we have to make sure all the fish pass before we get started. And we also need to start early enough so that we are not working in winter weather, which adds significant costs. And so we're really trying to thread the needle here with all the fish agencies and make sure we can get this done right. And as such, there has been these additional costs.
And thank you, Director Marchant. Are there any questions? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. I can agree with that. We have to delay it. That's understandable. But this can also change. It is fluid, no pun intended, because of transportation costs. You could come back at a later date because where this project is technically, delayed right now, nobody can anticipate the transportation costs in the future, and so that may be a change order number 3 with this project.
That is correct. We will be expecting to come back to you probably in January, February with the updates for those as well as material changes. As we all know, materials have fluctuated significantly, and so we did not want, normally we would come forward and say we want everything right now, and let's make sure we have all the numbers. Contractors, retailers, providers are not willing to provide pricing that I feel is competitive in any way at this point. They're basing it on the highest it is now and an escalator. And so we, from everything we've talked to and all our consultants, we believe pricing is much likely to be more stable and better by next January, February. And so we will come back at that time with the rest of this.
Thank you, Director Marchant. Are there any other questions? I see none. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Alderman Patricia Clee,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Laurie Wilshire,
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou,
Yes.
and clerk says yes.
Motion carried with 5 yeas. Unfinished business?
There are none.
New business resolutions?
There are none.
New business ordinances?
There are none.
A record of expenditures?
Madam Chair, I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the period of expenditures for the period from August 13th to August 26, 2021.
Are there any questions? Alderwoman Lou, sorry.
Thank you. Yes. I'm not sure that the person that could answer it was able to make it to the meeting tonight. I had questions about the payment to Corolla, who is regarding a contract we have for 14 Court Street roof repair or replacement. Is there anyone here that can talk to the scope of that and whether it's the whole roof?
I don't believe there is anybody here. Director Fredette would not be able to answer that specific thing to the contract.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay. Director Kleiner?
Yes, so Alderwoman Lou had asked this question earlier today of CFO Griffin, and I believe he provided a response via email. The contract with Corolla is for the full roof. We are still in the middle of the project, so one payment has been made to Corolla, but they are just beginning the second phase of the project. So we do expect additional costs.
Alderwoman Lou, did that answer your question?
Well, that's what, I had a phone call with CFO Griffin, and he suggested that may be the case. But when I subsequently looked at the contract, I do know that I noted that it was to be finished, I think July 27th. I may have that date wrong, but I think it's in July. And the terms of the contract were for roughly the amount that we've paid them already. Now, CFO Griffin thought maybe the contract was just for part of the roof. But the scope that I was able to read after I spoke with CFO Griffin was that it is the whole roof. Ms. Kleiner, do you have any response to that?
Director Kleiner?
Yes, certainly. So you are correct. It is for the whole roof. It was earlier expected that the project would be completed earlier this summer. As you know, limitations due to COVID and many other factors have pushed the project. They are over there working on the second half of the project now. And you can see that there's a crane that's out there currently. What CFO Griffin noted in his email to you was that there are funds that we expected that will remain after the project is done. There are also other structural needs to Court Street that we have realized. And if it is found that we would like to use those funds to meet any of those structural needs, we would bring that forth to the committee and to capital projects to repurpose those funds. So I think your original question was, why is the escrow for more than the contract for this roof? And that is because we realize there may be other structural deficiencies within the building that may need to be addressed. But if we feel that we need to address those and repurpose the funds, certainly the committee would have the right to vote on those going forward.
Well, okay.
Alderman Lou, you have another question?
Sorry, I apologize for speaking on top of you. Yes, I do. So what confuses me is the contract is for $268,000. We're paying them in this record of expenditures, I don't have it right here, roughly 240. Now you're telling me that they've only done the first phase and there's a second phase to be done. The fact is the escrow request is to fund costs associated with replacing the 14 Court Street roof. So I guess for tonight, I continue to be concerned because are you telling me that this payment that we're approving is for half of the project on the roof?
Director Kleiner, can you answer that?
Yes, certainly. So the first phase of the project is the most expensive and the most intensive. So yes, we did approve the payment of that. There is some retainage on the project, and the second half of the project is far less expensive. I can tell you that originally the cost of the project was far more expensive than we realized when we went out for RFP. And so we feel that if all in all comes in, that the city will realize some savings from what we had originally estimated.
May I respond?
Sure, Alderwoman Lou.
You know, Director Kleiner, I'm sorry, but I'm not understanding, I'm not following what you're saying. Let me try to just ask you the simple question that I'm trying to get to the bottom of. We we approved a contract to replace the full roof at 14 Court Street for $268,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in this week, we are paying through city buildings, darn it, 234,000. So there's a little bit left to be done. 30,000 more? I mean, are we changing? Is the price for this project, has it changed? Or is it still $268,000?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
it's
Director Klein.
268,000 is the total amount of the contract. You paid 223,000.
Okay, okay. So in the end, though, we still expect the total roof to cost 268,000. They're just running behind in completing the work. Is that what you're saying?
They are not running behind. The remaining work was expected to be done in September. And that is a smaller portion of the expenditure.
Okay.
Alderwoman Lou, does that answer your question?
Well, I just want to, I'm looking at the contract, and it says, shall perform and complete all work by July 26th. So when you correct me and say that's not, it's not running behind, please, I'm just looking at the contract. I don't sit in on the discussions, but that's what I'm reading. That's what we read here in finance is the contract. And I simply said it was supposed to be done by the 26th and it's running behind, but you still feel that it's not running behind?
Director Kleiner, did you want to answer that?
I guess I would. So I know I don't feel that it is running behind. The original contract may have stated that, but there has been discussions with the city and that was extended. We had one being the symposium that occurred, and we asked the contractor to push some of their work out. So we expect it to be completed this month. And the contractor has performed everything that we felt needed to be performed.
Alderwoman Lou, do you have additional
yes.
questions, or is this satisfied you?
Well, it does satisfy me for tonight. And if anyone, I would love if Director Kleiner can, to share with us what the additional work needs to be done on 14 Court Street that we're going to be voting on next week at our BOA meeting. Perhaps all of the people at this meeting would like to know ahead of time, or I take that back. Yep. I take that back. That's not something we're voting on.
I would not think so.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry, Alderwoman Lou?
no, that's okay. It's not something we're voting on because it's a like transfer. So, I don't know, what's the pleasure of the board? Would you like to hear about what the 775,000 is needed for?
Any comments from the members of the board? I see none. Director Kleiner, as Alderwoman Lou seems to have some concerns and some questions about those things, would you be able to provide that information that she is asking for?
Madam Chair, certainly, and we did address it in an email to Alderwoman Lou this afternoon. It's not 775, it's 722.5, which is the like-for-like escrow. And as I have stated, we expected when this project was originally introduced to the Capital Improvements Committee that this would come in at a much higher cost. It's always in the city's best interest when that doesn't happen. What we have said is that it has been like for like escrowed. Number one, we were not sure if when a project like this is done on a building of the age of the Court Street building, whether they would find structural deficiencies that needed to be addressed. That was one. Number two, we are not sure if there are other structural deficiencies other than the roof that will need to be addressed. And it was thought that it was better to escrow this money and bring forth any changes in purpose of the monies to the board in the future than not escrow the money at all. So there's no real legislation brought forth before you because it is a like for like escrow. But it was information provided to the board from CFO Griffin as part of the full package of escrows.
Yes, I do remember seeing the line item. Thank you very much, Director Kleiner. Alderwoman Liu, I saw your hand up again.
Thank you. I would just like to state my opinion that it would be better in information that's provided to us if money is being escrowed for a theoretical repair on a structure that we may find we need, that it not be attributed to a roof that we're paying for now. That's all. I don't think that's transparency. Thank you.
Director Kleiner, did you have any comment?
No, Madam Chair, I think I've addressed the issue.
Yes, I think so as well. If there are no further questions, Alderman O'Brien?
Yeah, I would just like to remind the board here that as chairman of the infrastructure committee by city charter, that project should, and it did, come before the infrastructure committee and was approved. So if you look at the city charter and its history, I think Alderman Wiltshire can agree with me, going through and modernizing and looking at the charter. It does mention lands and buildings, but that is now the modern infrastructure committee. So even though they may approve the project and everything, it does have to get cleared through a second hurdle of budget, and it gets approved within the city budget, and then it comes to finance to approve the funds for that project. Unfortunately, being chairman of the infrastructure committee, it's not on the agenda.
Yes.
And I wish I had a heads up, maybe could have helped to get some more information on this, but caught me totally off guard, but thank you.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien. Are there any other comments, questions? Alderwoman Liu, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
I do have another question. I'm sorry. May I just ask it quickly?
Right.
Sure.
There was a $22,000 payment made to Sterling from the FEMA disaster fund. Can anyone address that?
No.
I just don't know what that was for. Was that for moving the Board of Health back to Mulberry Street?
Truthfully, Alderwoman Liu, I do not know. Did you contact anybody prior to today? Did you?
I haven't asked that. I've had quite a discussion with CFO Griffin. I asked him about Sterling, but we didn't discuss this. I didn't notice it until later. I had asked him if he didn't know whether Sterling moved the Board of Health back, but I happened to notice it was in FEMA disaster, and I didn't understand how that would be applicable to that particular fund.
So,
I wondered if Ms. Kleiner knew, but I also, just for the record, want to be clear that Mr. Griffin, CFO Griffin, sent me an email, but it didn't have any explanations that Director Kleiner, maybe I didn't get the email. I'm in New York, but I've gotten other emails this afternoon. So does Ms. Kleiner, do you happen to know whether that is the move back to Mulberry Street?
Director Kleiner, would you know what the payment to Sterling was relative to for?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I do know that Sterling was contracted to move the public health department not only from Mulberry Street to the landmark, but also back after the project was completed at Mulberry Street. Whether that specific payment of $22,000, I believe Alderwoman Liu said, is specific to that project or not, I would rely on CFO Griffin.
Okay, and Alderwoman Liu, did you say that you had spoken to CFO Griffin relative to this?
Yeah, he didn't know, but that's fine.
Okay.
All right,
It's probably
That's
something
fine.
that maybe we can find afterwards. Perhaps,
sure.
I believe that Sterling does move us for other projects and so on, so it may not have been for that one, but we will try to get clarification for you. Perhaps, Director Kleiner, would that fall under CFO Griffin? Do you think he could get us the information specific to that, perhaps tomorrow or later on in the week, next week?
Yes, Madam Chair, and you are correct. They have moved us on for multiple projects. As you know, some of the City Hall renovations this year. So we will check up with with CFO Griffin tomorrow for you.
Okay, and if you could share that with the rest of the full board, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Alderwoman Liu?
Yes.
thank you. Just something that you said made me wonder. Was Mulberry Street move the first, our first experience with this vendor?
I do not believe so. I believe I've seen Sterling on multiple contracts. Director Kleiner, would you even know something such as that? Director Fredette, would you know?
Yeah, it was not the first.
Okay. So, Director Fredette did kind of indicate that this was not the first time that we had used Sterling. So I think we've used them in the past.
I mean, Mulberry Street was not the first
Right, correct.
time.
Do you have any further questions, Alderwoman Liu?
No, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And Madam Clerk, are you ready to call the roll?
Yep.
Thank you.
Alderman Patricia Clee,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Lori Wilshire,
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou,
Yes,
and clerk says yes.
And that motion carries with 5 yeas. General discussion? Is there anybody, there's no one here in the audio, I'm sorry. No, okay. I see that there's no one here in the audience for public comment, and I don't see anybody on Zoom. Remarks by Alderman? Alderwoman Liu?
I'll just take a couple of minutes.
Sure.
And I appreciate you folks. I know we all want to get out of here. But I just want to mention, or rather to respond to some remarks that I heard, that perhaps my way of doing the work on the Finance Committee was being micromanaging. I understand some of us feel the record of expenditures are gone over by with a fine tooth comb by our controller. And I do go through them. I learn a lot, and I just, I feel that, well, also the contracts. I try to read the contracts, and I know at one point last week, it was objected that, a schedule of upcoming regularly contracted services be provided quarterly, just a list. And my colleague, Alderman O'Brien pointed out, we don't know what type of tractor is needed for, something, but I just want to, I feel that some things we're expected, there's some level of scrutiny that is expected, and I want to explain to you why I feel this way. I asked on July 14th, I sent this to the Board of Aldermen, I sent this to the mayor, the CFO, and to Mr. Cummings. I mentioned, I'll just talk about the TIF. There are RSAs that have to do with the TIF that says annual accounting of incremental increases in assessments from these districts are to be reported. So I asked for that. On the 27th, so I asked for that on the 14th. I didn't hear from anyone at all until the 27th when Director Cummings said I'd be happy to provide an update. Is there anything specific you'd like? And I'll be including that TIF report. And that was great. The 27th, he said he'd get me the TIF report. On August 12th, on August 10th, I spoke at the Board of Aldermen meeting, and I asked Mayor Donchis again. And Mayor Donchis told me that the information may be out there, but I should check the minutes and I should check my records. He said it probably exists. It's in the budget, and it's probably in our annual report. So 2 days later, CFO Griffin did contact me, and he said TIF districts aren't included in the annual financial report. So finally, on the 16th, 4 days later, out of the blue, I get this email from Director Cummings, and he says, as you know, we send out the, bear with me a moment. I have it right here. Well, he said, as you know, the TIF reports are done in the summer. In fact, as you recall, I sent you one last year, which is true. I asked him for one last year, and he sent a rudimentary report. He said, as you know, here it is. And he started the email with, I hear that you've been asking for the TIF report. And so I've sent it to you. In the future, you can get it on such and such on the website. Now, some things, it's our place to make sure that these reports are done. I feel that by some level of scrutiny, that's the only way that we get this information to be provided. And it's information that I wanted. I'm on the Board of Aldermen. Maybe there are citizens out there who want it too. But this runaround where I think it's in the, I had to wait a month. Yes.
I do not mean to be rude or to interrupt you, but I understand what you're saying. You're very frustrated that you didn't get what you wanted, and I understand that you spoke to Director Cummings. I do recall you bringing this up at other meetings and so on. But when Director Cummings told you that it was on a website, was it in fact there? Were you able to find it there?
I didn't look.
Okay.
He also sent it to me. He sent it to me attached to that email.
Okay, so the reason that I ask this is because if it is there, that might be why sometimes you don't always get it. I understand that we don't always get what we want when we contact some of them, and I do understand your frustration. I think every one of us on the board at some point have asked a question and probably didn't get the answer, even amongst ourselves. I know that I have not always been very quick to even answer some of my colleagues, but the bottom line is that you did get it. I do understand that you do want to get the answers when you need them and when you request them and so on. But I am happy that you did get the report that you finally, it looks like probably about a month after fact that you asked for the first time. So is there anything more to that? And I'm sorry that I had interrupted you.
I just want to point out that it's not, my concern is not that I'm not getting the report. I'm trying to convey to you the lack of clarity that is thrown out there. No, yeah, it's somewhere out there, I think. After a month, when I finally corner someone in the meeting, the mayor says, yeah, I think it's out there. Check your minutes, check your records and minutes. And then the CFO Griffin says, it's not reported anywhere. And then I sent to them, I said, well, look, here's RSA, whatever it is, 162.11. And I say, well, in fact, it's supposed to be. And then the next thing you know, Director Cummings is like, oh, I heard you were asking for that. Yeah, here it is. This is not straight dealing. But here, let me just, I requested I'm asking for my colleagues' help. I do not get responses when, well,
Alderwoman Lou?
yes.
The reason I'm holding you up for a second, Jeff, are we still on air?
Yeah.
Okay. The only reason I say that was because my screen went blank, so, I apologize, Alderwoman.
I'll make this brief.
The answer is yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll make this brief. I want to know that I'm not the only one concerned that I get this type of response when I ask Corporation Counsel for some guidance on Mr. T-Boom's assertions that these appropriations, these escrow appropriations, may not be legal. This is what I get from...
You just jumped from the TIF to, with Director Cummings, to Attorney Bolton.
I'm finished with the TIF. I said what I needed to say, and then I said, I just have one more thing. I finished what I wanted to say. My point about the TIF was that it's not that I'm not getting the information, it's that...
Understandable.
Yeah, okay. I think I made that clear.
Yes, you did.
Now, just another thing I want to bring up is, this is what I'm told from our Corporation Counsel.
This is not a city employee bashing discussion.
Exactly.
So I would appreciate if you would stop.
I will not voice my concerns about this administration and the way the board is refusing to respond to me. This is what I get from Corporation Counsel.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes,
I'm going to ask, Alderwoman Lou, I am going to ask that you do as the President Wilshire had asked and to stop. I gave you a lot of leeway. You said you only wanted a couple of minutes. I gave you a lot of leeway when you went because you were talking about trying to get that particular piece of information. Now I see that you're going towards another one, and I have to agree with what President Wilshire said. It does feel like you are attacking one section of employees from another, and I'm going to ask you to stop.
May I respond to that?
No. I'm sorry. but no. President Wilshire, did you have a question?
I've stated my case here. This is not the opportunity to bash city staff who work hard, who give the information. It's not okay. This is not.
I
the
am
forum to
not
do that.
bashing.
You
I am
are.
not
Alderwoman
bashing.
Lou, please.
You are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I won't
Is there
mention
any other,
him.
is there any
I
other
will-
comment? Alderwoman Lou, if you do start to attack another employee, I am going to ask you to stop. Please, go ahead.
If we don't listen and engage with each other when we among ourselves are having problems and concerns, to just not respond and not listen is really not doing our jobs. Now, I'm happy to send to, I don't know how, if I am unable to get legal guidance on a vote I made, what would you like me to do? A vote that I need to make, rather.
Alderwoman Lou, that is something that you need to work out with corporate counsel. I can't help you on that. I can't make that decision for you. I don't have any powers. As you know, we have no powers over any department. Our job is not to, and I hate to use the word because you said it at the very beginning, but our job is not to micromanage the departments. Our job is specifically to create the budget, to approve spending, and you are right to look at the contracts. You are right to ask the questions that you asked. I appreciate you when you do that. I do appreciate when you ask those questions. Now you're saying that you're looking for legal guidance and you're on a public forum right here and you're asking me specifically how you get what you want. I can't help you with that. I suggest you make an appointment with the attorney. I suggest that you do something like that. That's what I would do. If I've called and I don't get a response, I email, I don't get a response, I ask for an appointment and I go and I speak with them. That's what I do with all of the departments. Yes, Alderwoman Lou.
It's my opinion that we as a board don't work together enough. We're supposed to act as one piece.
Alderwoman Lou,
Now,
I'm
sorry.
going to stop you right there again. I feel like you're now attacking the board, and the truth is, we were not elected to work together. We were elected to represent the group of people that we are elected by. So for instance, I work for Ward 3, you work for Ward 7. President Wilshire and Vice President O'Brien at large, they have to answer to the entire city. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright has to answer to Ward 9. I think we do work very well together. I'm sorry that you feel that way. And if your next question has to follow up on attacking the board members now, I am going to say no. So I will give you a couple of seconds, but I will stop you. So continue.
I was only citing a Mason's, it's not I don't know if it's a rule, but I was citing Masons. So I feel that if any of this board is not getting access to what their ward representative has a right to, that every member of this board should put some support behind them and at least
Again, Alderwoman Lou, that is your opinion. The bottom line here is we do not all agree. Tomorrow, there is going to be a work study that I have a completely different viewpoint than perhaps President Wilshire and so on. There going to come a point when that happens to every single one of us. That doesn't mean either one of us is right, and it doesn't mean either one of us is wrong. But we do what we do best, and we also do our own legwork. We get the information that we have to when we have to do that. I'm sorry that you don't feel supported, but again, My job is not here to support you in that respect, that you don't feel like this department is contacting you. I was not elected to hold anybody's hand, nor was anybody elected to hold mine. We do work independent, and I think we do work very well together when we work well together. Any further thing? Because I think we've probably exhausted this conversation. I can see the frustration on your face, and the hour is getting late, and I think we spent as much time talking about this as we did on the meeting.
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? That being said, non-public session?
There are none.
Okay. I'm going to pass this one over to Alderman O'Brien.
I think very timely, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Patricia Clay,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman at Large Laurie Wilshire,
Yes.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou,
Yes.
and Chair says yes. And Clerk says yes.
I got fired already. Thank you so much, and we
goodness.
adjourn at 8:20 p.m.